Hey guys, so I know this is a little confusing for this assignment today, so I kind of wanted to give you some instructions. So please watch this while you're working through this, okay? So basically what we're trying to figure out is which equations will give us functions and which ones are relations. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our knowledge of graphs to help us with that, okay? So basically what's going to happen, we're going to graph each of these using an online graphing calculator, and we're going to decide whether that is a relation or function. Once we get our list, we're going to be able to look at all of the functions and kind of see what they have in common, all the relations, and see what they have in common. Okay, so let's take each one individually. So you're going to look at your activity sheet. You each have your own, so you can type on it that is your paper, okay, just like you would have your notes paper in class, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the first equation here. You're going to go to the Desmos calculator, which is linked on your Google Classroom. You're going to type in the equation. So I have my first equation is y equals x minus 3, and I get this graph right here. Now I have to decide if this graph is a function or not. Now I know that might be a little rough, so I'm going to review that real quick with you, okay? So the way we can tell if a graph is a function is whether we can put a vertical line at any point on the graph and touch the graph more than once. If it only touches once, it's a function. If it touches more than once, it's not a function. So let's take a look and see what happens. So I just put this blue line on my graph. Okay, so I just put this blue line on my graph. And what I want to see is how many times it's going to hit this red line here. Okay, so if you notice, there's a dot right here. This is where the red and blue line hit. Right now, they only hit it one place. If I move the blue line across this red line, it's still only going to hit at one place at a time. Okay, so that blue line is only going to hit the red line once at any point. Okay, so because of this, that makes it a function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type that equation, or just copy and paste it, either way, into the function category here. So all the ones on the left side here are going to be functions. Okay, you'll notice there's 8 equations. There's 4 that are functions, 4 that are relations. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for every single one. So just so we can review the graphs, okay, and to show you how to do the squared. Okay. So I'm typing in this x squared plus y squared equals 4. If I hit this little keypad here thing at the bottom, I can actually get the square button right here. So if I hit that, it'll make it x squared. And I can just keep typing the rest, plus y squared equals 4. And I get this circle. So I get this circle. All right, so again, if I were to take my vertical line and pass it over it, if you notice, it's actually going to hit it more than once at some point. Okay, so you see how the blue line is hitting the red circle more than once. So because it's hitting this circle more than once, that makes this not a function. Okay, so again, this x squared plus y squared equals 4 is not a function. So I would put it under the relation side over here. Okay. So you're going to do that for every single one. You're going to decide if it's a function or relation. Vertical lines are actually relations because the vertical line from the vertical line test and the vertical line on the graph, they're going to hit absolutely everywhere on that line. So it's not just one line hits one line once. It's that this line is made up of a bunch of little points, and then when I put another line on top of it, it hits at all of those points. Okay? I know that's kind of weird. Okay, so you're going to sort them. Then I want you to look at all of the function equations. What do you notice about them? You're making your guess. Same thing with the relations. What do you notice about them? What is similar about some of them? All right, so I want you to pause the video, and I want you to go ahead and graph them all, sort them into the 2 sections, and then I want you to see if you can find the similarities. Then unpause this, and we'll actually talk about what those similarities are. And I've got a couple little practice problems. So now that you've finished sorting the functions and relations, you should have gotten these answers. Now they may be in a slightly different order, but the ones under functions should be under functions, the one under relations should be under relations. Okay, so all of these on the left are functions. Okay, so we're going to look at what they have in common. Okay, so one of the things is you'll see we have a lot of y equals equations over here on the functions. It's actually a little bit more than that. Just so you guys know, I erased the boxes for you to make your guesses so I could see the the functions and all that in this box at the same time. Okay. So basically the rule is if you have like y equals a number, so for example this y equals 2 here, so y equals a number will always be a function. So y equals 10, y equals -7, y equals 20,000, it doesn't matter. It is still a function. So y equals a number will always be a function. Okay. The other thing that you may have noticed is you notice how y does not have an exponent at any point. Right? But if you notice, the x can. Okay. So the y is always just a y if there's a y, which there should be. But the x can have x squared. So if you see the x squared right here, you'll see x to the third. So x can have an exponent, but the y will not. Okay, so that's what we're seeing as the pattern here. Okay, so those are the two big things that you need to memorize for equations that are functions. If it's y equals a number, or the fact that x has an exponent but y does not. Okay, then the relations are actually kind of similar. So instead of y equals a number, we have x equals a number, as we saw with the equations x equals -1 and x equals 3. Both of these are relations because they actually create vertical lines. So because they're vertical lines, if I put the vertical line test on top, they're going to hit everywhere. Okay, so it's going to hit multiple times, not just once. Okay, so if any x equals a number will not be a function. It'll be a relation. All right, the other thing is you notice how x actually has an exponent up here at the top. Okay, so x has an exponent up here. But what you'll notice is that the y's can have exponents. So you'll see y squared here a few times. So that's what makes this one different, okay? That y can have an exponent. Okay, so I didn't say anything about x because x can too, but y can have an exponent. So if you see anything y squared, y cubed, those kind of things, that will make it a relation and not a function. Okay, so again, y can have an exponent, okay? So we're going to use these things to actually answer the questions here at the bottom, okay? I'm just going to make this box a little smaller so you can see them. All right, so you're going to use these rules that we just came up with to decide if these equations are functions or relations. You can either just highlight them. So let's say if I say that this is a function, I can highlight it. Or you can just erase the other one, so it only says one. But I'm going to kind of take a look at that and see, make sure that you're on the right track, okay? If you have questions, reach out. I know this is weird to do virtually, so please ask if you've got questions. Hang in there, guys.